So again, once you complete the self-assessment, we're going to talk a little bit about it here. How do you market yourself? How do you put yourself out there, right? Well, I want to go back. At this point, you've done the research on the potential employers. Part of that research that you have to think about, what do those employers, what do they like? Are they big on LinkedIn? Are they big on Facebook? Are they, where does that industry typically look? Is it a particular professional association? Well, maybe you want to engage there, right? Because what you're trying to do is once you actually have your whatever it might be, a profile, a website, a resume after all of this assessment, you really need to now get in front of the organizations that you want to get in front of. And then you ultimately have to put yourself in a position where they're going to recognize you, right? So let me give you an example of what I mean. So let's just say it's a particular professional association that, I'm going to go in, I'm going to upload my resume, I'm going to actually go onto their blog, I'm going to actually make myself visible in front of this particular audience, right? A potential employer that might be looking in that community of expertise is probably going to have a different perception in the people or the candidates that they find in that community as opposed to monster.com, right? So again, what you're doing is you're educating yourself based on your assessment, based on what you know, and you're now putting yourself out there to market yourself in the arenas where these employers are typically hunting talent. Certainly you have LinkedIn, you have your general social media locations, which is very open. That's good. You certainly want to do that. But where else can you engage this particular employer or set of employers or this industry, right? If you're in manufacturing or if you're, in aerospace, whatever it might be, where do the players in those industries typically go? And it doesn't have to be where a recruiter is. It could be where hiring authorities and subject matter experts within that field operate, right? And again, it could be in, if we're here in Northern Virginia, as we are, the D.C. area, heavy federal government contractor space, right? There are professional organizations like AFCEA and INSA and all these other organizations that anyone can join, and go into those organizations to better position yourself to market your skills and things of that nature and try to align yourself with the employers that you're looking to line up with. It's also going to help drive the network. I mentioned this earlier. What does your network look like, right? Are the people in your network in a position to help you? And do you have to refresh that network? Do you have to create a new one? Aligning yourself into the communities of where you're pursuing opportunities is key. And certainly you could leverage a LinkedIn or other type of social media platform that would allow you to actually build that network up, develop those relationships, open up some rapport with folks that are in a position to ultimately help you and to leverage referrals, to get introductions, to open some doors, to set up maybe some information sessions, things of that nature, informational interviews, whatever you want to call them, basically to try to get closer and closer to the ultimate decision maker. However, at the same time, you're really learning a lot. You're collecting a lot of information on that organization or set of organizations. So again, that's the importance of a network. If we build it out, you want to make sure that you have the right network that's actually going to pay off for you, okay? And again, you're really aligning all of those things into one strategy. So now we have your assessment, right? Your honest assessment, I should say. You're doing your research on organizations and industries to see what aligns. And you want to make sure that you don't overdo it. Be careful to spread yourself so thin in this process, okay? Because you really, really want to focus. As part of that self-assessment, and to go a little deeper, is, where do my skills, where does my expertise, where is that going to get me? In other words, where is my time best spent? Is it an organization that has a large number of opportunities that I could fit into? Potentially. If it's a small organization, is it niche, right? I'm not saying stay away from those, but your strategy there is, hey, there's 3 opportunities I can compete for at that organization. This organization over here, there's probably 100 opportunities. Those are things to look at. So you need to make sure that you really narrow down your targets, or you'll find that you're spreading yourself way too thin. This will also help sharpen your marketing strategy because now you're focused on a certain industry or a certain set of employers. And sometimes you may have to actually scale that, right? If you're not landing and things of that nature, you may have to open up that aperture and bring in more employers and things of that nature. At the same time, if for some reason you find yourself striking out, not being offered the job or being selected, that's where you have to look back and do a lessons learned. What am I missing, right? I used to do some coaching over at Fairfax County and actually taught a class over there years ago. And one of the things we would sit down is and say, okay, well, if you find yourself that, hey, you know what, I'm getting a lot of calls, but I'm not getting the next step, right? That could be that maybe you need to calibrate the conversation in that phone screen, or you got the interview but you weren't getting the offers. We need to really look down to see where the bottlenecks are, and that's what you need to do too. You need to get those lessons learned as, where am I running into challenges, right? And if it's getting out of the gate, well, then you need to look at that as well. Am I marketing myself right? Are my skills attractive? Am I engaging with the employers that actually find my skills to be attractive, right? Am I clearly articulating, conveying my skills to the right people? I can tell you that is a huge problem. In other words, folks on this call, you may have been to career fairs, whether they were in person or virtual, and maybe you walked away saying, that fell flat. Well, if you didn't do your research and really align your messaging and your engagement, as we're going to talk about, with the employers there, then maybe you're going to have to, improve that, right? You really have to know your audience of who you're going after. Long gone are the days where employers will guess. They won't guess. They're going to look for the folks that are actually going to be the right fits for their organization, for all of the things that we've mentioned. So keep that in mind. You have to do the self-assessment on yourself. You really have to know that. You've got to do the research on the organizations. And then ultimately, how am I going to market all of this to the right people, right? And that is, how am I going to communicate with that audience? How am I going to market myself? Where is my resume? What social platforms? Where am I marketing, right? Am I blogging? Am I going to share? Am I going to build a website for myself and send my link to people? All of these things, right? If you're a software developer and you don't have a GitHub profile, an employer may look at that as, that's interesting, right? Or if you're a recruiter or salesperson, you're not on LinkedIn, employers will look at that and say, how good could this person be without a presence, right? Those are the things that employers ask themselves. That's why being out there in the communities where these employers are is going to give you a leg up, right? So that's kind of what we're getting at here. They have to meet you where you are, but you have to meet the employer as well, and that's part of the connection.